Hello everyone. Today we're going to go over a bit more on expanding this hospital. So the other day we got through the first floor and the third floor, which we know that the start of the game is in the third floor and the first floor is the exit, and then you have to go to the basement in order to get the power on. Alright, so now that we've gotten most of the building place, we just have to do the basement. So what we're going to do with the basement is get it built out. That should be everything connected together. So there we go. So now I know we need 4 rooms down here. We need the morgue, the autopsy room, the storage room we had planned, which I might turn into a freezer instead, where they keep like the blood samples and everything, and the maintenance room, where the fuse box will be located. So from here, we have the area down here. We're going to create a sort of room over here. And we're going to kind of make the building a slight unique design. So here's where the freezer is located. Boom. So now I get the freezer room designed. Yeah, there's plenty of room to set up a little sample area. And I wanted an area for the maintenance room to take place in. So instead of just going a flat room right here, I'm going to kind of extend this wall just a tad bit. Boom. Boom. Okay, so now let's go ahead and expand it a tiny bit. That should be plenty. Some magic across, make it nice and balanced. There we go. And there we go. Now I just have to match the roof to it. Okay, so now we have that room over there, and over here I kind of want it to dip backwards a tad bit for the maintenance room, so we get this unique design for the building going. So there we go. So now instead of it just being a flat hallway, we get this little dip in. That feels more unique and allows it for us to make the morgue kind of stick over a bit. So we can make the morgue kind of fit here and right here. As for the other room, the autopsy room, we can have it, because it would have possibly a little office thing right here. I'm going to have it start right here. We're going to have it connect to the front over here. So we're going to have it connect right about here. So that gives plenty of room for a little walk-through area, kind of a cleanup area. So when you come in, you clean up, you go over here, and here's where you perform your little autopsies and other things. And then the bodies go over here. The tests and stuff, the blood, all that comes over here. The forensics data comes over here. And now we got an area for all of it to go. And what we can also do is, well, we've already got the maintenance area here. Because we have some extra playroom, we can actually extend this a little bit. So we just got to keep track of that right here is where the wall ends. And we don't really necessarily need the basement to perfectly match the upstairs, because a basement only needs the area above it to be empty. To be supported, so that way it can be built. I don't know why I said it like that. That was a terrible description. The basement only needs to fit inside of the area of the building, which it can technically go outside of it, but even if we don't have to use all of the same area as the upstairs does. That's the big thing I'm getting at. And here's our full-size maintenance room. This is where the fuse will be located, and when I get these walls placed, I can go ahead and go straight to placing that fuse box. So that, because I already have the fuses as you saw in the last video. So there we go. Now we got this entire little area set up. And it's kind of got a unique little design that will really make it kind of stick out. Now we can get the fuse box. So let's snap object to view. Object to camera. Now we can fix the rotation. Boom. There we go. And it's even facing the right way. Bravo. Breva. Breva. So there we go. Now we have the fuse box inserted into its proper location in the right room. So now it's just a matter of making everything fun to actually go out of your way to access this room. So there's that. Now we come over here and we want this room to be accessible from 2 directions. Right there, and let's say about right. Let's make this one double door. And we'll put a double door over here. And because this is where they would transfer the body back and forth. We'll have a double door right here as well, because you wouldn't want the morgue to be connected directly, as that would be unsanitary for the little autopsy / forensics analyst room. And then you would have your regular door about right here. A little bit over, boom. But you would have your little reception spot right here. We're actually going to make this open cornered. There we go. And right here you would have your little glass door. So here we go. Now all the rooms are accessible, I believe. Yes. So, hold on. I saw a hole somewhere. Okay. No, it's just extra squares. So all the rooms are accessible in ways that seem rather appropriate. So you come over here, you have your little person setting up the office, but I don't know if I want this to have a little office. I might. That's what we'll do with this blank space right here, actually. I think that'll be a better idea for it. And this is the idea of designing after you've got everything in mind, because just because I had it in paper doesn't mean it was the best idea. So now that I've got that all placed, I can actually take this and slide it a bit forward and slide it across. Right there. So now I kind of want a spot right here to enter. But right here is a big old window. There we go. Now we've got this little office area. And that's as simple as it is to design a little area. We've got multiple paths for decent flow. The rooms have set reasons to go into them. And the basement, I kind of want to be off limits for hunting, but at the same hand, even if I didn't, this area is big enough that I have multiple spots that I can place hiding areas. So actually giving the player the ability to do things to escape will be very simple. As a matter of fact, something that I kind of wish games would do more is, like, you have a whole morgue right here. The player could crawl on top of a gurney and slide on in there and hide. It would be a very effective tool in escaping character in a horror game. It happens in movies more, but I'm surprised how little it's happened in games. As far as I'm concerned, it might happen more often than I think. I have to admit, I've not played every game ever. I'm not even going to pretend that I have. Alright, so let's slide this over here. As you can see, everything's already starting to feel more like an actual level. Now that we've got the areas actually laid out and built, it all just starts coming together really well. Alright, so now that we've got all the rooms set up, we need to design it to work really well with what we're going for. We don't have to start with down here. We have our little fuse box set. We want a fuse in the morgue on a gurney. So we need to go to our hospital models. And I want to set one of the gurneys right here. I believe this is a gurney. It's either a gurney or okay, so it's a trolley bed. So this is the body that the player would find with the key card on it. Maybe the hands laying out. Something a bit more showing. So there's one, and then we want some that aren't just full. And if I wanted to take the time, I could cut the bed top off and be able to slide it inside. But since this isn't an actual project, I'm not going to go that far. Unless the series gets really popular. If it gets popular enough, we might just make it a full game. But that would take a lot of work and it would take up a lot of video. So it really depends on if this video gets really well viewed. If you like it, please consider hitting like. If you want to see more, please consider subscribing. Let me know in the comments what you think. If we can get if we can get like 200 to 500 likes on this, I'll keep it going for sure. I plan on finishing the whole level, but if it gets popular enough, I'll see about making it much further along. All right, so now that we have the baseline required areas set up, we should be able to start moving into the more advanced portion of the greyboxing, which would be setting up some of the areas for the code. So like I have the key over there. I need the door that goes to it. So if we go key, I can browse to asset and go to the door locked. So here's the door. I can shrink it a bit. But there's our basic door. If we come over here, we have the area that the key is going to be at, which is in this room right here. So we need to set up a little area in this room for the key to be itself. SM_cube. Because I don't really want to place finished meshes in just yet, because I don't know what's permanent and what's not. So let's go ahead and set a little desk right here for the doctor. Because I want this to be kind of a talk room, but it also has a little area that the patient can lay down in and stuff. So kind of like an office setting right here. So there we go. Okay, so there's our key placement. So now we can take our key, we can get it into our inventory and go unlock that door. First, we need our little obstacle over here. So we need to make sure that all the code for it works first. So we need that gurney that moves. So let's go back to our hospital models. Inside of here, we have our little gurney right here. We want it to be kind of set at an angle. Let's go ahead and set something that's against it as well. Let's say a wheelchair in the way. One that's been knocked over. So the idea is that your player is so injured right off the bat that they can't even move this stuff. So when the player gets their bandage over here, which we also have to code, then the player will be able to start dealing with that. And the player can move it. So let's look for rack. Here's one. So we can start placing our racks around in here. So let's go ahead and set it there. And right here. And one over to the one in the center. What we'll do is set it across. We'll make it look like the one, like there was a spot in the room for it, but it is open and used. So of course we would need more than one light in here. So let's go ahead and get that solved. So there we go. So now we got at least 2 lights. And set about right there. Makes it a bit easier. And just to make it even more so. Damn. It helps a bit. There we go, that's a bit better. We're going to go ahead and replace these lights, because if I use just the 2 spotlights, it's going to be a bit more requirement than just 1 rect light. And if I set the rect light up right here, width, height, there we go. This room is a bit better lit, and we'll solve that later on. And what we'll do now is put a flashlight down. And the spot we kind of want it to be located. So we want the flashlight to be easily noticed. So it might be best to place it like right here. There's our first little flashlight. That's the one you collect. And of course I'll make it interactable later, and then we'll do a bandage. Okay. What about first aid kit? I got one of those. I do have a first aid kit. We'll put that in the back over here. We need to turn off this. There we go. There we are. So now we have our little first aid kit, and we get our flashlight right off the bat. So with those set in place, we would just have to code that and this right here, and we'd be able to move it out of the way. So now we've got the idea in motion, and the idea set up that, okay, over here is something that can't be moved out of the way real quick. It's just too much. The player can't do it. Come over here. They get the bandages. They can move this out of the way. And now they can go over there, get the key, and head downstairs. So that means the entire 3rd floor is now playable and able to be tested. So we could go ahead and do some renditions. Of course, we have to get that code set up. So let's go ahead and get that going. So let's take this, go here. We're going to set up that code right here. So we go into it. We need to create a blueprint. Obstacle. So we're going to go into it, and we are going to place the gurney inside. So now we have it, and we can actually go to it, set it the same spot the other one's in, and that will be the end of that thing. All right, so now I can get rid of the original. There we go. So now the code is pretty simple. So we'll set a variable in here that is healthy. I might have butchered the spelling, but that's fine. So in here, no. We need to put it in our character. So if we go to world settings, we go to our first person character. We need to set it up to where they can do this. I'm not going to set up saves right now because it would be pretty far early in for that. So healthy. So we want that accessible. So compile. And then we need a way for that to be set up. So we need to find our first aid kit real quick and set that up as well. So all we gotta do is right click, browse to asset, right click, and we'll just create the blueprint. Healing. So set this right here. Go to the item. Now we just need to go into the blueprint. Put the first aid kit inside of there. Compile. Rotate it into place. There we go. Now we can set this up how we need it to be. So with this, we need this usable. So box.
So I'm not going to worry about making it to where I have to look into it or anything. I'm not trying to make some advanced code. So with this setup, I can compile, and with the event craft, I can make it to where the box on begin overlap and end overlap. Enable input. Disable input. Get player controller. And use 0 for both. Compile. E key. There we go. There's E. We're going to need to set up a cast to the character. And it's just going to be a variable. Swap this to healing. We need to go to the healing and set a object reference. Compile. And healing, we can compile. Drag off of press to cast to first person. And get this down here, the default scene root. Wait. We need to cast this as well. So first person. I think that's the right one. Drag that here. Yep, there we go. So we need to set uh-oh. It's not the right first person. So where's this first person at? This is first person rainforest pack. That's interesting. Okay. Fair enough. First person. And then set healthy. So with healthy, set healthy to check. And we'll set this to a do once just to be sure that it doesn't break anything. So there we go. And then destroy actor self. Compile. So now when we do this, it will set the healthy on the first person to check. And with the obstacle, we want the same code mostly. Copy and the obstacle paste. We don't need the begin overlap or end overlap just yet. We'll replace them with a new box collision, which we are going to have set across the entirety of the gurney. And compile. Of course, we're going to fix everything. We don't need this or this. Now we need to get the first we'll go with FPS. No, FPV. Set this to the first person character 2. Object reference. Compile. Drag that on in here. Set. No, damn it. It was get. Get healthy. Set this to a branch. And have this be the condition. With this, if the condition is true that the player is healthy, we do a timeline node. Moving. We grab our trolley bed. and move 2. All right, so actually let's do set local relative location and rotation. So we're going to go into this and we're going to set track, and we're going to do a vector track and a second vector track. All right, so what we need is to move this along it properly. So we need the original set, which are zeros across the board on everything. So that's fine. That's good. So we need to go to the moving timeline and set zeros on all of them. I just set 3 on X, didn't I? Set this to 0. This is X, so let's hide X. Add key to all curves, 0. And this one to 0. All right, so that's all 3, right? Right, okay. That's good. So we want all this to be, all 3. To all curves, 0. And 0. There we go. So now they're all set to their original position. So what I need is to go back over to it, find the location it's at, and take a look where I need it to go. So I want it to be moved like this, and not that way, this way, allowing the player to get through. So I need to transfer these numbers over to the timeline. So for the movement, which I'm going to rename this to movement, move, this one to rotate. All right, so now with this, I need the X node to be sure. Now we're going to right click, add key, and set this to 5. So the value to match exactly what this is. Now we're going to set the Y node and hide the X node. We're going to do the same thing. Add key, collect the Y, and set the value. It's 5. And then the Z-axis does not change. So these two don't need anything on there. Add to X. Set it to 60. Set this to 5. Compile. Now what I need to do is I need this to split struct and split struct. Actually, I don't even need to do that. I can connect them directly. New location, new rotation. So there we go. That should technically work. And we set this over here. And all we need is a do once. Wait, no, right here. Do once. So we can't redo it after it's been done. So there we go. So now the trolley should move out of the way and allow us access across. So we're going to recheck one more time. Access, controller. I'm going to replace these real quick just to be sure that they're set to the proper thing. Begin. End. Drag it on up. And just connect. Just to be sure that we have the right codes connected to the right parts. So this should gather everything because we have its original location set in place. And then this will be the new set. Okay. So we should be able to get through now. Let's go ahead and test. Play and enter. Ooh, looks like we have set place. Okay, so we don't have any of the movement or anything set. So let's give this a shot. Let's go over here. This should destroy it. And it should check our healthy now. So now we should be able to come all the way over here. Oh. Why did it activate? Oh, that's why. Because I didn't set this back to 0, 0, 0. So let's go ahead and set the default back to 0, 0, 0. Let's try this again. Of course, I'll set the flashlight connected to the flashlight when we pick it up. Press E over here. Come over around. And this should work now. So something's causing it to not work. We got to recheck in our code. That's why. So, ooh. I can't do the code that way. So I can bypass using the player altogether. Remove the healthy. And set the healthy inside of the healing. No, inside the obstacle. So let's set healthy in here. So healthy. Boolean. All right. So now I just need to reset all of this to healthy. Get healthy. Condition. Compile. Instead of casting to the player character, we're going to cast to the healing object reference. Connect that to here because they have the same code. I could just do set I need to set it to obstacle. Whoops. Obstacle object reference. All right, now let's try this again. Get set healthy. Check. Connect. Connect. Compile. There we go. So now we should be able to take this, go into its code, set this to I and I. All right, so where is it at? Oh, everything has to be compiled first, right? So you're like, where's the connector? There it is. I drop, fly on in here. Right. I'm not using the first person view anymore, so I don't need that one. In here, variable, I drop, compile. And we shouldn't require it to connect over, but on the off chance, we're going to change this to healing. We're going to compile. So we're going to go to our blueprint, obstacle, connect to here, connect this to the obstacle. Everything should work. So if we come over here, activate, gets rid of it. And of course, we'll fix the lighting and a bunch of the glitches later. I come over here and we press E and it starts. Okay, then. That is a interesting one. So that obviously has to do with our timeline. Move, rotate, and we did it properly. Only thing is let's go ahead and break these down. Split struct pin, split struct pin, split struct pin, split struct pin. X, X, Y, Y, Z, 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 Y, Y, X, X. Compile. Let's try that again now. Oh, I forgot I have a zoom in going. All right, come over here. And once again, E. Come on over and E. So now it moves out of the way and I can access the rest of the hospital. Of course, I can easily speed that up by changing the duration of the timeline. And now I can go over here. Let's go ahead and test exactly where the key is. Maybe put an extra battery in one of those rooms over there so there's a reason to explore. Get the key. So now the key is checked. We should be able to run over and open the door, unless I haven't set the key up for this specific blueprint. So now as we run over here, you can see that there's the old path. Boom. Now we can go through the door. So we can access the entirety of the level right now. Because the rest of the code isn't set up. We don't have the other doors or anything. But that shows that we've got the entire level. If we really wanted to expand it more, we can make it to where the second floor is accessible. But that would require improving the amount of time in the story and going through. And I'm trying to go through and show just a baseline hospital design. If I really wanted to make things a bit more different, I don't know how I got to the... Oh no, that was the first floor. I would need to include other rooms. And if I wanted to, I could put another hallway right here. So I could go across like right here and 4 across. Boom. Right there. Right there. This is where the edge would be. And we could just drag this all the way over. And if you wanted to do that, that would be fine. It gives the player more room to explore if you're going for that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just drag it on over. There we go. Fix this right here. We got a nice extra hallway added. And this adds a faster way across, but now it's a little bit harder to guide the player where to go on their first playthrough. Unless you block this area off and only allow it after you've gone to the basement or something. So we could easily just go right here and make it to where there's a double door right here the player cannot access right off the bat. Now we've got multiple paths. The area feels larger and allows us these little checkpoints. So instead of walking around and going through those 3 rooms, which is the original plan, the player can go down there, get the key, come back up, and take this path instead. And we can actually incorporate some of these other areas now. And that allows us to access even more of the hospital we've designed. So that's why building that outer shell has worked really well, because as we're laying out the rest of it, we can introduce more rooms organically without them feeling rather forced. Because I have the ability to add these rooms in, but I don't have to. And I'm negating the entire second floor because it's an unnecessary level area. But as I'm building the first floor, if I come over here, oh right, I have it sealed off. If we come right over here, we'll see that right here, we still have the idea in place that it could be used. And then it connects directly into this area that is already filled out. So as we're building the rest of the hospital, the building itself is becoming laid out. And if we want to access these areas, we can, but we don't have to. So yeah, now that we've come all the way over here, we got they got the room played out. It's all set up. That's all we needed right there. So the baseline. Oh, let's get this part right here fixed real quick. Right there. Drag on over. There we go. So there we go. We can access everywhere we need to build the entire game. Now it's just building the code. So let's go on ahead down here. Let's go to fuse 1 and place it on top of the body like we originally wanted. So snap object to camera. We can go ahead and place it right here for the testing parts. Of course, later on in the game, we can worry about making it more of a custom mesh setup with a hand hanging out, holding it if we really wanted to. But there's our first fuse. We want another one to be rather easy to find, so maybe in the room over here that you could unlock, so that way you don't just get it right off the bat. And it gives us a reason to use this area over here. Now with hospitals, there's plenty of places that we could set up right here. Like if we wanted to, this could, instead of just being a hallway that connects into a room, we could easily lay it over right here. Let's get force. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. And now we have ourselves another hallway connection. The reason that we want that is if we drag it on over, we have plenty of space in the opposite direction. Over here is completely unused other than the staircase. But what we have is plenty of area for a pharmacy. So right here, we can drag this over. Boom. And now we've got a lot of area that we're not using, which is fine. But let's go ahead and seal that off so we don't accidentally build into there. And if we wanted to, because it's such a thin area, we can actually set it up to a little hall closet and really just have it usable. So it comes over here, enters into here, and now we drag this over. Oops. Drag it over. Have it kind of block off right there for us to set in our window, and the door could be over here. Then of course we can have that little back room area right there. So now we have an accessible pharmacy room. Is this room spot used? It is definitely used. So we can't cut any of that out. But we can actually set it up as a little area. So if we do, we go to the hospital models, we can go over here, we go to models, and place our little waiting chairs right here. Of course, we can replace these later, but this shows us what we have in mind for this room going on. Couple of carts in here. They use for moving around the stuff. If I had a shelf, I would put one in here. A full-blown medical cart in the back. Couple little details just to give us an idea of what we're doing in here. All right. So there's that. And for future reminder, if I ever forget what this is, I'm going to lay a couple of pills in here as a reminder of, okay, so this is the pharmacy area. These are just for me to remember. So now we have a new room, an area set up, a new path, and an unlockable area that we can go through and go backwards. So if we wanted to reuse the first floor, we could. I mean, the third floor, we can, but we don't have to. Like, we could easily set the player over here and make it to where they can't access from here, and make it to where one of the fuses is in this room. But we're going to go ahead and put one in the pharmacy area. in the little back room over here. So we're gonna go with fuse 2. Snap. Move object to camera. We're gonna fix that rotation. We're just gonna set it on here. Simple as that. So that's fuse 2. So now we're going ahead and really getting the level set up. We're getting some of that idea flow down. So this allows the player to travel through without really running into areas that they're like, well, now I have to do this. And we can make it to where if there are collectibles in the game, when the player turns the power on, instead of just running out, we could set up an elevator that takes them up to the 3rd floor. So that way they can really explore faster instead of going to the staircase every time. But yeah, so now we've got the whole level finished, set up. Now we just gotta really set in the major little details in it. So we're gonna start doing that with the room. So the room, we want the player to start right there. We know that. We want the player to leave and head to the right. And so when they get in here, we want them to go over to the room right here. And how we're going to do that is we need some sort of sign. Or something else, if we could think of it. We really want to guide them. So we want to put the exit right up here. Actually, let's put the exit sign over here. So we're going to use this as a placeholder. Now we got an exit sign over there. Player can't even see it. Helpful. Oh, and apparently it's transparent. Because the decal sign. We don't want decal signs. There we are. Much better. Actual solid exit sign. I'm going to turn it angled to serve it as both directions. So there we go. Now we got a little exit sign there. And to make it even better, we'll add a tiny false light on it. So we're going to lift it up, widen it, set it to movable, set it to 2, shrink its attenuation radius to be very minuscule, set this to 0.1 now, 0.01. There we go. Then we want it to kind of be a little bit backed up, not directly in front of it, that hardcore. You just want it enough to be able to where the player could see exit right there. So now they can see when they're looking closely, when we hit play here, you can look over and zoom in, it says exit right there. So now the player is able to solve mostly the entire game. All that's left is the last 2 fuses, and I could actually complete the entire game if I set the door code. But that's not a finished level or anything. We're just getting into the meat of everything. So with it all placed out, and the gray box started and getting into a decided state, now it's really adding in the details and making sure that even though it's playable, it's also fun. So I need to cut the holes in these doors and think of how I want the player to go through here. So right here, I'm going to create a door. This will allow the player to skip through even if they don't know about it. Right here instead. Boom. Boom. And right here. Actually, not even right there. We can do it right here. Boom. So what I'm going to do is instead of having it to where the player has to go through there, there we go. So now the player can come through here, and they think that they went through there, but they didn't. And this is where fuse 3 is going to be. Boom, fuse 3. Then that can be our surgery room that we haven't set up for just yet. And we need a fuse for the final one and the final location. So everything is easily accessible down here. If we wanted to do batteries, we can. If we have an AI searching around, that gives them more of a thing to worry about. So we got the key, the fuses. We need one more fuse placement. And where would we put that? We could put it in the basement, but that might make things too easy. I mean, we could put it on the second floor, but without anything really in there for it, it's just added level for added level. I guess to introduce the idea of the fuses, we could put one by the fuse. So that way the player can learn, oh, okay, so maybe I put the fuses in here. But that also seems pretty simple, and there's a point where giving the player too much information is also a hindrance. So we want the final one to be kind of easy to access. And I might do that idea we had before and move the player back one room. So let's go ahead and do that. So it rewards exploration early on, and the player won't know why they're doing it. But in the end, they'll get the ability to actually complete the game at a faster speed. And if the game ever is popular enough for speed runs, it would work well for that. Let's grab all these. There we go. Boom. So the final fuse will be in here. And yeah. Slide the gurney, the patient bed over here. Actually knock it over. What the fuck? Oh, weird. Okay, so fuse 4, move object to camera, and let's just fix it on up and put it on here for now. So now we can complete the entire thing. The fuses are usable, and we have an okay setup going on. We just need to slide this over. I kind of don't like the idea of it being right here. I do like the idea of the torn apart room and the ability to like explore over here. But I don't like the idea of having to come up here for a fuse. So what we can do is we could actually put it underneath the staircase. But then the player would have to know to look under the staircase to find it. Which what we could do is we have plenty of space right here. We could actually cube grid, block this off right here. A little bit further this way because we don't need a big room for there. Block it off right there. Staircase a little bit further over. Ah, damn. Nah, that won't work, sadly. All right, we have the rooms over here we didn't add yet. So I wanted rooms over here. That's what I was missing on the level. Drag this over. Boom. And we lift this up and bring it on over. We do that a few times, and we'll get a couple rooms. Big room I want would be right here. Little room that you can explore, and this will be where a fuse is. Well, no, I don't want fuses that close together. I already have to go through here and go through there. And then the fuse is in this room. So we need to find the final fuse location without it being overly simple. Ah, here we are. A little maintenance area connected to the staircase. This is where our final fuse can be located. So this allows the player to find it early on, but not without forcing it. We can set it like right here for the entrance. There we go. Gives easy eye view of it. Whoa, that was weird. Let's just drag across right here. Drag on over. There we go. There's that. There's that. Okay, so now we have our little maintenance area, and this is where the fourth one will be located. This gives us a lot of play area and a lot of locations to set up. So the player now has plenty to explore. We have everything set up, things playable. We really just need to code the front doors and give everything else a nice setup as well. And we'd be good to go. Find out, maybe make this a one-way lock door. Which do I have that in here? Ooh, hold on. We do. So right here. You hit play. It's at this side or the other side? Other side. Of course, I'll replace this later on. This gives us a test go real quick. So now we got access right here. So now we know how this is kind of going to work. The door is unlocked once we get it from over here. But from the other side, it is not unlockable. So there we go. The whole level is accessible as intended, other than the locked doors. So yeah, I'm probably going to place the locked doors outside of video, so that way we can get really useful, necessary information. I'll probably talk about how the locked doors work in that video, but for now, I think this is where we're going to stop here. We've gotten a pretty good ways done. We have a baseline gray box finished. We can actually look and actually see the increments of a building in place. And soon we'll be able to actually throw in a small landscape and put a forest out there. And eventually work on the gate. And have a little dirt path that leads up to here with a parking lot out there. So yeah, I hope you all have enjoyed the video so far. Like I said, if you want to see more like this, please consider hitting like and subscribing. If you have any specific questions about the level design, don't be afraid to put the comments in the section below. Other than that, I hope you all have enjoyed the video. I hope you have a good night, and I hope you have good luck with your game development.